Let me send a message real quick, telling someone to be quiet when they get back here so they don't make a loud noise.
You good to go?
Good to go.
Good to go. Hello, Titans fans, and welcome to the Two-Tone Crew, episode 126. I am Jonboy, and we have a full crew tonight. For the first time in a long time, Josh is back with us. Welcome back, my friend.
Hey, good to be back, man. Yeah, I've been overseas now for about the past 4 or 5 months. So
You still been watching the games? Is it like
late
at night?
Yeah, I've been looking forward to watching games not at 2 a.m. and then going to work the next day. So, I mean, yeah, being in the States definitely has its advantages.
Yep. And Jamal is back with us once again.
That I am. Nice to be here.
And also Scotty is here this week.
What's up, guys?
Nice. You guys checking out the World Series tonight? Game 7. It's a big one.
I am, yeah. Yeah, 6-3 right now. It's in the bottom of the 6th inning. So, yeah.
We are recording this live, so it'll be interesting to see if anybody chooses us over the World Series. I mean, come on, right?
And by the way, you gotta say, yes, being in the States has its advantages. Also, the rest of the world has its advantages as well. I came back. I want you guys to know that one of the first things I did was I ordered a bidet. So now Titans Guru has a bidet.
Dude, my son just got potty trained, and I swear, wiping his butt with toilet paper made me so concerned about the cleanliness of my own butt. Toilet paper versus butt wipes for children, there's no comparison. I almost want to just wipe my butt with a butt wipe from now on. It's scary.
Great time.
It's scary.
Speaking of wiping butts, how about this game?
that was a good transition.
Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, it's almost been a week ago now, so we probably won't talk as much about it, but great win for the Titans, guys. Just a complete team effort, which really, I mean, you could argue they had that in the Dolphins game, but I think they gave up some special teams stuff there. So this was probably by far our most complete effort of the season. I think it was Marcus Mariota's best game of this year, easily. Maybe it's the best game of his career. And really, everything that you kind of hoped for with this team in the offseason, I think, was realized in this game. The caveat, of course, is that the Jags are pretty bad, but it was still awesome to watch and enjoy, I think.
When was the last time we just seriously laid a whooping on somebody?
I mean, week 1
I can't
last
remember
year,
it.
Right?
Well, yeah, they were out of that game so quick. That's true.
Yeah.
But week 1, it doesn't feel the same.
Right. Happening
Considering
so
that the
early.
Jags beat us once every year, and it seems like they beat us the first time. I don't know if that's true. Somebody will probably correct me on that, but it feels like they beat us the first time, and then we have to come back to split the series with them.
Hey, the Jags played other teams as well, and you know, we're the only team that's put up as many yards as we did in the first half. I mean, that's pretty amazing considering we're considered a run first offense.
Scotty, best game of Marcus's career, in your opinion?
Oh God, yes, not even close. He also did everything that he kind of struggled with and people had talked about. It seemed like it just all came together in this game.
Yeah, I mean, when they sat in the offseason and talked about that plan, and we kind of started to see the team they were building with Murray, with Henry, with the offensive line, what we saw in that game, I think, is exactly what you hoped for all along and envisioned. I mean, it was just it was really just exactly what – I mean, I don't know what more to say, really. It was nothing more you could have asked for in that game, and it's exciting to get back to 4-4. I saw several people over on Titans Report say that, it makes them even more angry that we played the way we did against the Colts because, man, 5-3 would be really nice right about now, especially considering the Colts lost this past week. So anyway, though, Titans are 4-4, completed that 3-game homestand that we'd been talking so much about and how it was really important for them to get at least 2 of the 3. We were hoping for all 3, but they did get 2 of the 3. And now they get ready for a road trip to San Diego. And Titans have been notorious for struggling out there. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But we're at the midway point here. So before we get to the Chargers game, I just kind of want to talk, especially Josh, where you've kind of been watching from afar and just get your general take on kind of the first half of this season, because there have been ups, there have been downs. Some things have been good, some things have been bad. But here we are at 4-4, and in this division, I mean, we're right there in the thick of things.
Yeah, after the preseason, we had that poll, and I guess the question came up: how many wins did I think the team would have? And I picked 9. And kind of a few weeks into the season, I thought maybe that was too optimistic, but it seems like that's a very real possibility at this point. I think you have to give, without a doubt, John Robinson just a ton of credit. I mean, it's a ton of credit. I mean, regardless of, I know I've been kind of listening to the podcast, guys, and I know Jamal, you've been kind of on the Mariota side of the whole. Who is it? Is it Malarkey? Is it Mariota? I know, Scotty, you've been definitely on the Malarkey side. I think that looking at it, no matter what it might be, I think you have to give John Robinson a ton of credit to say, okay, this is what Malarkey wants to do, and to put the pieces in place to totally just turn this offensive line around in the course of one offseason, to go from one of the worst offensive lines to the best, and to pick up Murray for what he did, and then bring in Henry. I know Henry hasn't had a chance to carry the ball that much, but I think that just shows what a good job that we're doing with kind of keeping – Henry – excuse me. You know what I'm trying to say here. I'm kind of getting a little carried away. I'm excited how the team's doing. I'm happy that Murray's doing as well as he's doing, but it's nice that we have Henry in there, because when he's come in, he's performed.
Right.
Well, I think he definitely improved the offensive line, but I also think this scheme is also protecting Mariota. They're, Wisenhunt last year, the offensive tackles were out there by themselves just constantly, and now they got tight ends out there. They chip with the backs and stuff, and Mariota gets the ball out fast. So I don't think it's just the line. I think that's where you kind of have to give Malarkey a little bit of credit for not putting him in position to get hit like he did last year.
Yeah, right. And I think that was brought up today, where we don't run 3 wideouts. We run like basically the least route in the league, 36%. I think it's like what it was, but yeah.
Yeah, that was. I heard Greg Cosell say that the fewest 3x1 in the NFL, and like he was saying, we're far below a lot of teams.
Yeah, since some teams go as high as 75 and most are over 50.
Wow, interesting.
It's not surprising. We've talked about that a little bit on the podcast, and that's been a discussion point on TitansReport.com. I know one of the posters, Old School, has talked about he would like to see more 3x1. I think the Titans have been pretty clear about what kind of offense they want to establish, and I think at the midpoint you're really seeing that having come to fruition. They're number 1 in rushing attempts in the NFL so far this year, and they're number 26, I think, or 24 for passing. They're a run-first offense, and if you can get a GM who can identify talent to fit that scheme, it's nice. And they're executing it well too.
I'm about to say, yeah, they're an effective running team. I mean, it's one thing to run the ball a ton, but I mean, they're actually effective at doing it now. They're starting to figure out the pass, hopefully, based on this past week. And if we get that going, then I think that 9 or 10 wins is definitely in the realm of possibility.
It seems like I think early season they actually did run more. Because as seasons went on, they've actually went heavier and like done it even more and had Mariota.
We're getting a little T-painting going on.
T-painting. I think you were saying that they passed the ball more early in the season, and then they've gone towards the run as the season goes on.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you now.
Yeah, it seems like
and there it goes again.
It's just not working for Scotty.
Their rushing attempts have definitely increased as the season went on, but part of that is they haven't been behind. Early in the season, they were behind the vast majority of games, and they were playing from behind, and that increases your passing attempts. In the last bunch of games, you played Miami, and Miami's looked good since we played them. We walked all over them. And then you played Cleveland. You played
Raiders
Indianapolis.
have looked really good too. I know we lost that one, but we played them close.
We did. And I think we're playing teams where we're actually getting a lead, but then we're also not getting behind by a touchdown or two and trying to play catch up in the second half. Right. And it allows us to play the offense that we want to. And the offense we want to is going to grind teams, and we're going to wear them down, and they're going to regret at the end of the day. They're going to, it's like, I think Malarkey said it at the beginning of the year, or maybe it was J-Rob, where they said they're going to know that they played a football game at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started a thread today on Titans Report just talking about if you had to give out mid-season awards, and I think for the most part it's pretty. I didn't get much argument, which is rare on Titans Report. I didn't have many people disagreeing, but I just want to kind of get your all's thoughts. I think probably the most difficult one is if you're talking about the defensive MVP and who's been the best for our defense. And I ended up going with Casey, although I think Arakpo, Morgan, and even McCourty definitely warrant some consideration. But Casey's just been, that constant force. We've had him for years where we almost take him for granted because he's so consistently good. And he's a leader on this team. I know he's, captain, and it's just great to have a guy like that you can depend on week in and week out. So, definitely shout out to those other guys, but I still think Casey's kind of the one that holds it all together.
I haven't checked in a while. I wonder what his snap count percentage is as the year's gone on. Has it stayed pretty consistent? Because that was one of their focuses.
About cutting back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't checked that either. Maybe a Titans podcast can do that for us.
They've had the ball so much longer in the last 4 games that he hasn't had to really been held back as much because the other team doesn't get the ball as much.
That was one of our gripes last year, actually, was the fact that the defense would hold up for a long time, then eventually would just wear it down.
Mm-hmm. Seems like it's been a few years.
That's one of the bonuses of Malarkey's system. The defense is not going to be on the field very long if it's working.
Yeah, I don't remember who I was having this conversation with early in the year, but they were saying Malarkey gets no credit for the defense. That's all Dick LeBeau. And it's like, the fact that they're playing a ball control offense, that does impact the defense. That I think you can give him credit for the fact that the defense is playing fresher and that we're cutting down on the number of possessions the other team has. And I think that there's some validity to that.
And now that Mariota hasn't been turning it over as much, if he keeps that up anyway, it doesn't put the defense in a position where they're trying to defend the short field as well. I think maybe the toughest thing, the toughest award to give out is, in my opinion, is probably maybe like a comeback player of the year, because you have several candidates there. You have Arakpo in there. You have Murray in there. You could argue McCourty.
I think it would have to be McCourty because he barely played last year, and when he did, he was hurt and wasn't very good. I don't think he's necessarily the best one of them. He's struggled at times, but as far as coming back, without him, the secondary would be horrible.
I think the way the NFL works, you'd probably end up giving it to the star of DeMarco Murray because the NFL wrote him off last year. He's already got more rushing yards than he had all of last year.
Yeah.
I think on a national level, absolutely, people are going to give it to Murray. But, I think Arakpo, the fact that he's done what he didn't have a bad year last year, but this year he's like toward the top of the league in the sacks. It's just.
I would actually give Arakpo the defensive MVP too. I wouldn't give it to Casey.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about that because I was. Yeah.
He's just been he's been so good as an edge rusher. I know Casey's good too, but he's doing his normal thing. But he's not doing as well as above the regular standard as Arakpo is.
Yeah, Arakpo's playing the best he's played in his career, I think.
Yeah.
He was always a good pass rusher, but he's been much more of a complete player this year.
And that makes McCourty look better, too. LeBeau's basically saying he's blitz as much as he is because, let's face it, that defensive backfield is not where it needs to be right now.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, let's talk about the offensive line. We've already touched on it a little bit. I think Rookie of the Year, easiest one, Jack Conklin. As good as Henry is, he just honestly hasn't been on the field enough to challenge Conklin for that award there. But I thought Conklin would be good, but I don't know that I thought in his rookie year they would already be talking about him for all pro consideration. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was just an NFL.com guy's article, but Jack Conklin is in the conversation for first team All-Pro at the tackle position, which is insane for a rookie. I mean, and he played left tackle, so not only did he switch to the right side, he's switching to the right side on a team that was just terrible on the line last year. And I mean, from day one, the guy has stepped in and been exactly what you would want out of a right tackle. It's really pretty amazing that he's been able to step in and play that well.
And look at the upgrade over last year, Patasi. I mean, that was one of my things about the team. That's why I thought they'd have such a quick 1 year turnaround. Is Murray over Andrews, Conklin over Patasi, McCourty back. I mean, these are massive upgrades. Griffin.
Let's not forget Jones.
Yeah, on the defensive line.
No, offense, center.
Yeah, center. Yeah.
Yeah.
It also helped that Warmack got hurt. That helped the line.
That's actually very true. Yeah,
It is true.
We called it at the time.
Although once the left guard got injured, then it became a question as to whether or not it mattered now because they were lacking depth. But at least this last game, Schwenke looked pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, he's been a starter before, not at that spot, but it's kind of weird. In some positions, I feel like they have a lot of depth, and in others, not so much. This one, when you think about it, we're really already down 2 starters when you consider that, Warmack was a starter originally, and then Spain is out now. And then on the other side, we've got Taylor Lewan, who in that article I mentioned was actually referenced as the leader right now at first team All-Pro.
He deserves to be All-Pro. He does.
Yeah.
He's that good.
He's turned the corner. I mean, he looks like, again, I'm kind of run out of words. It's like everything you'd want to see in a left tackle, except for those penalties that he just gets from time to time in very bad situations. If he can clean that up, I mean, he is a complete left tackle because his play is phenomenal.
It makes me wonder how much the lingering injuries that he seemed to be playing through every year so far, how much those impacted his play.
Right.
Do you think not having Met here has played a role at all in his maturing?
Oh, yeah. I don't think, because in what world did you have to get rid of Met? Why did you have to get rid of him?
Exactly.
Well,
I think they
kind of reported that was after the fact. I mean, I can't remember who reported it, but it was kind of reported that is why they got rid of him. And it was suspicious how they got rid of him too, like you're saying. So it definitely could.
I'm just curious, what the hell has happened to Tajay Sharp after such a strong preseason?
It's a good question.
I was going to say before the season started, I think Conklin might have been third on many people's list for likely rookie of the year on the team because people would have had Tajay Sharp and Derrick Henry up there.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we talked a lot about leading the team in catches as well, and he was right up there with Delaney in most of our discussions about that.
Well, and he started the season because I was going back, one of the articles I was telling you guys about before the podcast that I started to write and I just ran out of time is I was going to write a mid-season recap of the season so far and just kind of project forward. And I got through the first game and like half of the second game before I gave up because I ran out of time. But the first game, he had like 7 catches. Remember that? And then
he was heavily involved.
Well, I think Derek Mason's the one that said when he got in the real games and started getting press coverage and whatnot that the preseason party would be over, and he was right.
I do remember that, yeah. And Malarkey even said it's kind of strange to have a guy take a step back after performing so well so early for a young guy to take a step back. I don't know. I mean, my hopes are still high for him, not as high as they were, but I still think he can be a solid receiver. And it could be, we were talking last week, I think it was, Scotty, about, why is he still on the field? It could just be because his blocking and everything else aside from the actual pass catching is actually really good. So, and I mean, speaking of receivers, we're down one receiver. Andre Johnson retired suddenly a few days ago.
Officially.
Yeah. Officially.
We had kind of forced him into retirement over the last couple of weeks.
I think it's possible he was about to get cut or they were about to tell him you're not getting activated.
Mm-hmm.
Because he played 11 snaps last week. You can't
Yeah.
have a guy on the active roster that's not playing special teams that's barely playing,
Right.
especially the way their special teams is suffering. So I bet they told him McBride's about to come up. You know, maybe
And
you wanna
Matthews
retire.
and Wright have both been really stepping up their game. So he was probably
So
starting to see what was going on.
we had Andre Johnson for half a season, and he was a shell of himself. He had the one catch. Was that the Lions game where he caught the touchdown? So we've got
Game
that.
winner. Yep.
But otherwise, half a season. Can I go back to just hating him and thinking he's a little punk for what he did to Cortland Finnegan?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I was thinking. Who cares?
I mean, I'm back to just thinking like, who cares?
He hasn't caught a pass since week 5 either.
Has he not? See, that's crazy. So not only did he only play half a year here, he actually like wasted the snaps that we gave him.
I still remember that week 1 where he dropped that sure touchdown pass. We ended up scoring on that drive anyway, but I mean, just like the easiest pass in the world, and he dropped. Yeah, you're right. I mean, his really only moment of being outstanding was that game winner against Detroit. But it does, you mentioned McBride, them calling him up, which he has been indeed called up now. Who do you guys think is active on game day? Will McBride be active over Harry Douglas?
Yes.
I think so, because he
brings more to the
contributes.
team. Yeah, exactly.
Special teams wise, yeah.
Yep.
I think Douglas is more just like Wright's backup.
Mhm.
He plays the slot. Nobody else really plays the slot.
And McBride might have the most speed of any wide receiver we have. So who knows? He might get some meaningful snaps at wide receiver as well.
A package player too. I mean, didn't they have Mariani get a couple of snaps with the offense recently?
He got
Yeah.
two snaps, but I wonder. I'd have to go back and look, but I bet you they played 5 wide receivers on a couple of snaps, and they just used all 5 wide receivers.
Actually, I remember reading that they did.
That's what
Just
happened.
that. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of my thoughts at the midway point. I don't think we can end that discussion, though, without talking about who's been the overall leader and MVP of this team. And for me, it didn't take me long. I mean, DeMarco Murray has been, especially for what we gave up for him, just insane, the production that guy has given. And when we first made the trade, there were some skeptics until you saw, oh, that's all they gave up. Well, there's not really much risk there, but it has paid off huge. I mean, the guy has been our constant on offense, even when the passing game hasn't worked. Murray in the running game, for the most part, he was stifled a bit in the Cleveland game, but for the most part, I mean, he's just had just a phenomenal year. And I don't remember if we'd hit record yet or not, but Jamal, you were talking about how he already has more yards than last year in Philly, and we're at the halfway point. It's amazing what a change of scenery can do for a guy. But he's done everything. I mean, he blocks well, he catches passes out of the backfield, he runs good routes, and he runs the ball hard and makes people miss. I mean, he's a complete back, and he's, for me at least, he's absolutely the team MVP.
Some people might not like Malarkey's system, but DeMarco Murray ain't one of them.
That is for sure.
His toe might be, but the rest of him loves it. He's got, right now, I think he has the second most touches in the NFL and the 4th most per game.
Who is number 1? I saw you posting that.
Who was number
Elliott,
1?
maybe?
It's Elliott.
Well, but Elliott, in terms of per game, it might be Elliott, but I think it might be David Johnson in terms of touches, because Elliott's already had a bye week.
LeGarrette Blount is also ahead of Murray
On the average
per game.
Yeah.
They're already griping in Dallas about they're using Elliott too much. They need to give Alfred Morris the ball more. But hey, the Dallas Cowboys already said we're riding this guy for 4 years and we're getting another running back. They've already said it.
Who do you guys think wins Rookie of the Year? Is it Dak or is it Elliott?
It's Elliott.
It's got to be one of those two right now. I mean, Carson Wentz was in the conversation. He's kind of fallen off a bit, but offensively, it's got to be one of those two guys. I lean toward Elliott as well, but man, quarterbacks usually have the edge on that.
Prescott didn't look very good last week.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
didn't.
I think Ezekiel Elliott would get that. LeGarrette Blount, by the way, has one more carry than DeMarco Murray, but not as many catches.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, overall touches. I was only talking about carries.
Yeah, so carries, DeMarco Murray is at 160, and Melvin Gordon, who we're playing this week, and LeGarrette Blount have 161. That's it.
Yeah, defensively for Rookie of the Year, I think even though Bosa didn't play for part of the season, he's off to a really, really good start. he's getting
on
it.
pace.
He did.
That guy's awesome.
No,
Yeah.
dude. I know people thought it was just a simple thing to say because he's white, but I mean, he's right now. If you look at least PFF where he rates, he's the second coming of JJ Watt. And going back to the other piece, it has to be Elliott over Dak because Elliott's doing. He's basically has a chance to lead the league in rushing before the season's over with. Dak, he's a good quarterback. He's doing very well, but he's not going to be anywhere near Elliott, I don't think, in the voting.
Yeah, if he keeps this up.
Elliott has 114 rushing yards per game right now, average. He's the only guy over 100.
Yeah.
The next closest guy is DeMarco Murray with 94. So he's got 20 yards more per game than anybody else.
I can't remember if it was that same NFL.com article I was referencing or another. I think it might have been another article, but I've actually seen Elliott in discussion for overall MVP of the league.
Without trying to do much math, and Jamal, this is your forte, you accountant, is that 2,000 yards? Is he on pace for that? It's really close, right?
They're
Elliott?
talking about it.
Oh, wow. Because you said he's already had his bye week, right?
No, he's on pace. I'd say like 1850 or so is what I'd say, but that's just mental.
It's 1824.
There you go. See, I know what I'm talking about.
He's on pace to break. I think Eric Dickerson has the rookie rushing record. He's on pace to beat that.
That's crazy.
And what is that? What is the rookie rushing record? Do you know?
I don't know. I just know I heard him say that's what he's on pace for. And they're trying to. They're not slowing down. They're trying to. If you watch them, they've got a good offensive line. And, he gets 8-10 yards a carry every other carry. It seems like.
Dickerson had 1,808 yards, so 1,808.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, as positive and happy and upbeat as we seem to be about this team at the midway point, looking at the schedule from here on out, it really ramps up from here. And we go to San Diego, as I mentioned already. Then they've got the Packers at home, then at the Colts, then at the Bears before we finally have our bye week. It comes pretty late this year, week 13. So that next quarter of the season, I think, Josh, you're talking about maybe 9 wins. I think I predicted 7 at the beginning of the year. But this stretch right here is really going to go a long way to determining if we stay in that playoff discussion to compete with the Texans or if we fall off and are looking at next year, because those are two good teams, I would say. And then the Colts, they're not a good team, but with the way the Titans play them, you have to put them in the category of the Colts are probably going to be favored that game just because of how bad the Titans always play them, and it's at Indy. But what do you guys think? We talked about Bosa a little bit already. We talked about Melvin Gordon. Titans are going to be going against both of them this week. Conklin, luckily, is very familiar with Bosa and Taylor Lewan. I don't know if he lined up against him. I think he probably may have, maybe once. I'm trying to remember back. But yes, they're definitely going to be familiar with him. And Conklin actually did a pretty good job on him in college from what I remember. So hopefully they'll be able to continue that. But I think, for me, I think this is going to be a really tough game for the Titans. I just don't think they match up well with San Diego when you actually look at the matchups. And we've always seemed to struggle when we go out there to San Diego. But we're coming off a lengthy rest. Titans are traveling down there a day early. I think they're going down Friday. And you can't really play any better than they did the last game. So they're coming off their best game of the year. How do you guys think this one shakes out? I think, like I said, I think it's going to be tough.
It's not a good matchup, I don't think. Rivers throws a lot of passes to the backs and tight ends against our, that's where we gave up a lot of stuff to the Colts.
Yep.
So, defensively, they're going to have a hard time stopping Rivers. But, the Chargers are pretty famous for blowing games. So if the Titans avoid mistakes and stuff, it's definitely a winnable game.
Yeah, they're definitely one of those teams that seems to shoot themselves in the foot. But yeah, I agree. Like you said, when you look at the talent level, Rivers is amazing, and then they've got Hunter Henry, who he popped up on the injury report, so I got a little excited at first, but he was actually on it last week and played anyway. So any Titans fans that see that, you probably expect that he's going to be out there, and he's been really solid for them early on. How about you, Jamal?
Well, I don't think it surprised anyone that I have probably a more negative view of the team's prospects than the other people on the podcast here. Yeah, I think it's a tough game, and I think San Diego is a much better team than their record. But then it comes down to the reason that their record is as they are, as it is like Scotty said. They blow games. I don't know. I honestly suspect we will lose this game. And it really just kind of depends on, can this team taking a look back, we're probably not as good as our record, and they're probably better than their record. And you project forward, hopefully the Jacksonville game can serve as something that we rally around, and we have that extra week or at that extra time from having played on Thursday night. And hopefully that helps us just continue to build forward, because I think if we're going to make the playoffs, and especially if we're going to get to that 9 wins, 10 wins, maybe, we really have to improve on what we've done so far this year.
Yeah, I agree.
The first quarter of the season, when they were 1-3, I think Mariota had turned the ball over like 7 times. This second quarter, they were 3-1. They won the turnover battle. They're gonna have to win the turnover battle over the stretch you mentioned, and Mariota is going to have to play well more consistently. If those two things happen, they can come out of the next quarter, 6-6, 7-5, something like that. It's possible. But those two things have got to happen.
Yeah, even going back to that Colts game, you talk about the turnovers. Without that final, I think that was his only turnover of the game, but it was ultimately cost them. Oh, they have another one in that game? I can't remember the other one.
They were -2.
I know he fumbled. They had the fumble for the touchdown at the end, and that just without that one, I mean, who knows? They might get down there and win the game because we've been moving the ball. But yeah, it's going to be a tough stretch, and I don't like our prospects in this game really either. Like I said, I think it's a really tough matchup for the Titans, and I agree that Chargers are much better than their record. But who knows? Maybe they'll keep blowing games as they have and blow this one. But even better, maybe we'll just actually play a complete game. I'm with Scotty. I think especially if we can keep doing what we're doing on offense, it's honestly the defense that concerns me most in this game, because I think we probably got a little too high expectations with the way they were performing early, especially late in games. And I don't know that we're going to see that this week. Rivers he knows how to get rid of it so fast, and you have to hit him. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get much pressure on him.
He got sacked 4 times last week and hit 17.
He got hit 17 times?
Oh, wow.
7, but, I mean, it was Denver, though. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know he's passing from shotgun something like almost 85% of the time, so I'm surprised they can get that many hits on him. But maybe he's just standing in the pocket and taking the abuse.
Yeah, so I do think, though, if they get this win, if we find a way to get this win, then I will be probably more excited about the team than I have been all year, because I think this is one of those games that you're going up against a good team on the road, coming off of a solid performance, your best performance of the year. If they win this game, then suddenly for me, I'm starting to feel much more positive going forward. But until they win one of those games that they just probably shouldn't win, it's hard for me to get really excited on them, because every game we've won so far, let's face it, it's games that the Titans should have won. I mean, maybe the Dolphins one, you could kind of say maybe the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins probably were favored in that game, but we were favored against the Browns. We were favored against the Colts. Even we lost that one, favored against the Jags.
I'm pretty sure they were favored against the Dolphins by the time kickoff came.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
But they've been in every game. I mean, they could have
Mhm.
they could have easily beat the Raiders or they should have beat. They gave the Viking game away. I'm sorry, but
Yep.
they just gave that game away.
Mm-hmm. Gave that one away, and then which one was the punt return? The Texans was the punt return that broke the tie. Yeah, so exactly. I mean, they've competed in every game, and this is, I mean, talk about that being the halfway point in the season. Like I already said, this is the point when you really start to make that playoff push. You know, it starts now. Our margin for error is a lot smaller than it was before because we've, you know, already lost 4 games, but the potential is there. There's no doubt the potential is there for this to be a good team and for us to have a good stretch here. And if they come out of this, let's see, like I said, Chargers, Packers, Colts, and Bears. If they came out of this at 2-2, we'd still be in the hunt. If you come out of that 3-1, then I think we'd all be ecstatic with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I
if we're 7-5, people are going to be.
Yeah.
They almost have to win the division now, I think.
Yeah, I think so
There's
too.
not a wild card coming out of the South.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. So, what's the second half of the second half, John? Do you have that in front of you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we get our bye week 13. Then we get the Broncos at home. Then we go to the Chiefs,
Texans and Jags.
to the Jags,
And
and
then
then Texans at home for the finale.
So you could
2-2
conceivably. Sorry.
So that's 2-2 if we're lucky.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could conceivably, without playing over our heads, we could easily go 2-2 in both of those periods. You could beat the Colts and Bears. You could beat the Texans and Jags. You'd have to beat all of the teams that you're really supposed to beat, and then we'd be sitting at 8-8.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if we lose every game that, in theory, we should lose.
But if you put together some games like we did this week, I mean, we could beat any of those teams.
Yeah.
Well, we do get to play the Jags again, but only once.
The thing is, if you look at San Diego and Green Bay, I mean, these aren't teams that are just rolling over people. I mean, they're losing games. They're struggling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're beatable teams. I mean, the Bears were beating Green Bay in the fourth quarter with their third-string quarterback a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, it's not like – but, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is starting to come on, though, it looks like.
Yeah, but part of that is that they're ramping up the pass, and so statistically he's going to increase because they're ramping down the run game. Their offense
looked better though.
Yeah, I think he's getting in a better rhythm that way with his wide receivers and everything. There's a good result with that. But I mean, they lost this last week, even though it was against Atlanta. They're
lost to the Bears.
Yeah, they're not a juggernaut right now.
Right. That's my point. These teams are not. It's not like we're playing the
Patriots.
The Patriots. I guess that's the only team you can say it about.
Yeah, it's really the only dominant team. I would agree. Maybe the Falcons. They've played well.
Cowboys.
Yeah, Dallas.
I don't think the Cowboys. I mean, they were lucky to beat the Eagles.
Yeah, so it's like you guys say, there's no dominant teams there. That's true. So that's why if the Titans are able to win, I think in my little, when I was not really predicting, but saying what we would need to do, I think it'd be great if you could win one of these next two, Chargers or Packers. We beat either one of those teams, and I think people would be really excited. Then you almost have to beat the Colts. You have to beat the Colts. Really need to beat the Bears, and even then you could still lose to the Broncos and Chiefs and then just close out with wins against the Jags and Texans. And that would put us at 9-7.
Yeah, the way I looked at it, they have to win the 3 division games. That gets them to 7. And then they have to win 2 of the other games against San Diego, Green Bay, the Chiefs, and Denver.
Right.
If they can split those 4 and win
the Bears,
game, yeah, and the Bears, then it's not impossible. It's doable.
It's absolutely.
I think 9-7 would win it.
What are they 5-3 right now, the Texans, or do they have a bye week? I think they're 5-3.
Their bye week is this week, actually.
I heard McLean too on 104, and he was talking about their schedule gets pretty easy the second half too.
Texans does?
Yeah, and he brought up this, and this is an excellent point. What are they, 5-2?
I think they're 5-3.
5-3. They went
Yeah,
5-3
they've lost
with
3.
their quarterback playing as bad as you can play.
Yeah.
Yeah, their schedule actually looks kind of similar to ours. They do have a bye this week. Then they go to Jacksonville. That's probably a win. Then they go to the Raiders. Then they got the Chargers at home. Then they go to Green Bay. So we get Green Bay at home. They have to go on the road to Green Bay.
Advantage them.
Do what now?
I said advantage them. Although we've been playing better at home.
Then they have to go to Indy. Then they get the Jags and Bengals at home, and then their final game is against us on the road for them.
So they've got Bengals.
Yeah,
you said Green
talk about
Bay,
good teams, that
Chargers, and Raiders.
Yeah,
yeah. So they have 4 good teams they have to play as well.
That doesn't sound that easy, really.
They'd probably need to lose all of those though: Raiders, Chargers, Jags, or Bengals, Packers, and then of course we would need to beat them. Obviously,
I mean them too, though. They can lose to anybody.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Well, I think it's about time we wrap it up, guys. We were going to do a quick episode this week. If you're listening live, Cubs are still ahead, 6-3, 8th inning. Could be some celebration going on here in Chicago pretty soon if they're able to hold this lead. But yeah, I think ironically, as being 4-4, like we were just talking about, there were some games we let get away. I mean, we could very easily right now be 6-2, which is insane, but very easily could have been. And then you look at the Lions game though, that one was really close. Could have easily lost that one. But our other 3 wins have been pretty definitive. I know the Browns game, when you look at the scoreboard, it was only 28-26, but Titans were well in control of that game, and they controlled the Dolphins game and the Jags game. So we've had 3 really pretty convincing wins, and then the come from behind win against the Lions when frankly we really weren't playing that well at the time, so they kind of stole one.
The trash talk that I've been delivering out to Packers fans this week has been pretty intense, but the response I got was, you beat the Lions, the Dolphins, the Jags, and Cleveland. Those teams all suck. Who cares? I don't necessarily know that all those teams suck, but it's not a great list. And that's the thing. We're going to have to be able to beat better teams than that going forward.
Yep. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining. Josh, great to have you back. Hopefully we'll be able to have you on again here pretty soon. Scotty, thank you once again for coming on. And we're hoping to make this live thing just be a consistent weekly thing. We're actually discussing moving the podcast to Sunday evenings to get a little more just energy in the show, because we're recording this Wednesday night, especially with the Titans playing last Thursday. The game is so far removed at this point.
And really the good news is we don't have to worry about any conflicts with us playing on Sunday night.
Yeah, exactly. Because the Titans, our one prime time game of the year is done. Although we could get the flex. You know how they can flex towards the end of the year? If we're still playing well, they can do the flex scheduling and actually move one, I think. So it's always possible.
The game's 3:15 this coming Sunday, which that's the first time we've got a 3 o'clock game.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks once again. This is the Two-Tone Crew. We are the official podcast of TitansReport.com. You can find us on Twitter. Oh, Josh, you normally do this. I'm just so used to doing it now. If you want to do it, feel free to jump in.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not going to remember all the numbers, but like I say, you can find us on Twitter at Titans Report. We are the official podcast of Titans Report. So go to TitansReport.com, go to the forums. That's where you'll find everybody. If you want to send us an email, it's mailbag at twotonecrew.com. Jonboy, I don't have the phone number in front of me.
Yeah. It's 615-900-0282 if you want to leave a voicemail. And actually, we're going to start checking that more regularly now that we're using the Google account. So I saw that I think Tex had actually left one last week that we missed. So keep sending them in, and we're going to do a better job of getting to those, because it's just a lot easier for us to see now using the YouTube live thing that we're doing. So once again, that's 615-900-0282. And we're on all the podcast services, iTunes, Stitcher, Android. Rate and review us there. Guys, give us your feedback, by the way, if you think you would like if you'd like the show better on Sunday evenings. I think it would actually work for all of us, so we're thinking about it. And just let us know what you think in the message boards. And we'll talk to you all again very soon. Have a great week.